Hi guys, in today's how-to video I want to explain how you can deal with a DQ. I want to repeat something that I've already stated and explained in previous how-to videos, and that's the importance of getting up in the morning and actually adopting a positive mindset and a positive attitude towards the rest of the day. Don't think anything negative, don't assume a can't do mentality, but a can do mentality. It's also important to read, know and understand the rule books pertaining to disqualifications and DQs, and you can actually find them online both for IPSC as well as USPSA. So I refer to both rule books for more information on disqualifications and everything related to that. If you go through the IPSC and USPSA rule books, you will find many reasons for shooters to get DQ'd, but the two most important categories are safety infractions, to include but not limited to accidental discharges, breaking the 180-degree rule, sweeping any part of your body, and multiple finger on trigger incidents. The second category deals with gun handling issues, handling your gun outside of the safety area, dropping your gun on stage or dropping your gun somewhere on the range without an arrow present to clear and return the gun safely to you, or live or dummy ammo in or near the safety area. These are just a couple of the examples. You have to realize that regardless of being a beginner, an intermediate or an advanced shooter, DQs can happen to anyone at any time. Obviously, the further you progress from a beginner to an advanced shooter, the risk actually decreases, but it will never ever be at zero. If you have an honest talk to fellow shooters, I'm pretty sure that most of them will have had one or more DQs in their practical shooting career. To include myself, for example, especially when I started in action air, regrettably I did not read or understand the rule books well enough, which led to stupid mistakes that led to DQs, which were a very good life lesson for me in the continuation of my IPSC journey. I refer to a video I made on how not to DQ and a playlist in which you will find dozens and dozens of actual videos of shooters from all over the world being faced with a DQ that you can take a look at to learn and understand and hopefully also avoid for yourself. So you're actually shooting a stage on a competition match, and at a certain point in time you hear the arrow giving the command stop. Now when an arrow gives you the stop command, this is your cue to stop any and all things that you're doing on stage. Stop shooting, getting the finger off the trigger, continuing to keep the barrel pointed downrange, and await further commands given by the arrow. The arrow will approach you, he or she will give you the unload and show clear command. You will unload and show clear your gun. The arrow will then give you the holster command. You will holster the gun. If you have a safety, activate the safety and put away the rest of your mags. At this point, the arrow will actually explain and also maybe even demonstrate to you the exact reason why he or she gave you the stop command, and also tell you that you are DQ'd for the rest of that particular match. It's at that time that your emotions will kick in, which is completely normal, especially if it's a very important match. Emotions might be surprise, disappointment, sadness, or you just being angry. I've seen people who may even have shed a tear or two, but regardless of the fact that it's normal that you become emotional, it's also important to stay calm. Certainly don't start yelling, cursing, insulting, or making threats, not to the arrow and not to any other person on the range. In fact, the arrow is oftentimes a volunteer. He's passionate or she's passionate about the job, As you don't intend to come to a match to get DQ'd, they also don't intend to DQ people from the start. They're just doing their job. So listen actively to the RO explaining to you what has happened. It's also important that you are honest. I'm not only talking about being honest to the RO, but also being honest with yourself. If you know in your heart that the RO is right, I mean, don't make a fuss about it, respect it, be humble and respectful. Imagine that for one reason or another, you really think that you have one or more arguments to challenge the decision of the range officer. Then you can, if he or she is available and present, talk to the chief range officer, but ultimately it's down to the range master to make a decision. And then you can even go further, but that's not the topic of this presentation. So I would suggest you go back to your rulebook and see the exact procedure to follow, including the fees, the timings that you need to respect, and so forth and so forth. So for that particular match, it's actually over and out. You'll have to put away all your gear and you can not continue even if you were scheduled to shoot in another division. That match is over and out for you. The results will not be shown and it will probably show that you were DQ'd. The RO will also make a detailed report on what exactly happened, and the report is meant also for the range master. So what about the use of audio or video to dispute the decision by an RO to give you a DQ? More and more you see shooters being filmed whilst they are shooting stages by other shooters, or the shooter might have placed one or more overview cameras on the stage, or might even have a head cam on so that everything that happens is actually monitored and filmed. Shooters oftentimes and incorrectly think that they can use the footage, be it audio or video, to dispute the decision by an RO, but it's not as simple and clear-cut as that. As soon as the RO gives you the DQ, that's not the point for you to submit the audio or video footage. If you really want to submit and challenge the decision by the RO, you need to go to the chief range officer and or finally in any event to the range master to make a decision. And if you are still displeased with that, there's a formal procedure to actually challenge the decision by the RO, and you have to address the arbitration committee, for which the procedure is stipulated in the different rule books, because there are fees attached to it, there are timings, there's documents and so forth that you need to respect. And then there's also a time limit for the arbitration committee to make a decision. Now, in reality, as far as I can remember, I have not seen anybody actually use that specific procedure, but the point I want to make is that regardless of the fact that footage was actually taken, that cannot be used at the point where the RO gives you the DQ. I fully agree that considering the technological evolution and the fact that cameras are more often used on stages, that both IPSC and USPSA should take a hard look at that and see if and how they can incorporate the use of footage at the point where the RO actually gives the DQ command. But again, that's a policy decision that certainly here we're not gonna solve. So you just got DQ'd, and under the assumption that you're not gonna challenge it and you accept the decision, the match is actually over for you. What to do next? Well, one of the first things to do is to turn that negative DQ experience into a positive one. And how can you do that? Well, by taking the time, letting your emotions stabilize, and try to analyze and understand what has happened, how it could happen, and especially what can you do differently so that that mistake that led to DQ will not repeat itself towards the future. This is how you can turn a negative experience into a positive one and to learn something from it. I strongly suggest, regardless of the fact that you might be poked by other shooters on the range or outside of the range, don't waste any negative energy related to the DQ, and especially not badmouth the RO, the Chief Range Officer, the Range Master, or the organization as a whole. Don't waste any millisecond on that, because I guarantee you, if you badmouth people for the fact that you were DQ'd, the chances are pretty high that that boomerang will return straight back into your face, and that your reputation will be tarnished and not the one of the RO, the range master, or the organization. So don't even go there, even for a millisecond. Don't do it at all, even if you are poked and provoked by other shooters. Don't waste any time and energy on that. I want to end with the beginning in mind. As I stated that in the morning of the match, you should get up with a positive attitude. You should also end with a positive attitude, because you've learned something, and positivity creates good energy and will actually improve your self-image and your future performance.